The last echo of battle fades. The smell of burned timber and scorched earth still clings to the cold autumn air. Smoke coils lazily through the narrow logging streets of Snowmantle, drifting between rough-hewn buildings and blackened carts. The wind whispers through stripped branches beyond the village edge, a hollow, skeletal sound. Uktar's chill has settled in, and suddenly, silence. No chanting, no lightning, no spellfire, only the creak of rope, the distant groan of timber, and the uneasy realization that the most dangerous enemy on the field has simply vanished. Ragnoth is gone. Dragomir lies motionless in the dirt, blood dark against the frozen ground. Eisen's breath is shallow, barely visible in the cold air. Spent magic hangs like the fading taste of iron. You are alone, or so it seems. What do you do next?
Sing's not even in the area, so he has left the tavern where Juliana gave him the potion, and he's currently circling the woodland perimeter, trying to make his way across from where Eisen is up on the roof, but not come out. He's trying to survey what's going on and decide, what about to do next.
What you do see as you leave the tavern is more Zentalar soldiers with swords and hand crossbows, armor and helmets, some with shields, descending on the village square, so to speak. This portion of intersection where the party and the forces of Bane and the Zentarum have had their conflict so far. They're rushing off in that direction.
Okay, so Sing will take that into consideration as he's moving through the forest while staying as hidden as he can.
How about Vale?
I'm going to try to help Dragomir and see if there's anything that I can do to help bring him around. Maybe try to get him to drink water, if I can make any makeshift bandages.
Vale rushes over and kneels down next to Dragomir, grabs one of her wineskins, starts to gently pour it toward his mouth. Aleph, you're watching all of this because you had just finished your ministrations. Vale, as you're doing this, you're noticing that he's been dabbed and slightly cleaned off and bandaged already to the point of being stable, but is still in a really bad state of shape.
Are the animals still fighting?
You can't tell for sure. What you do hear is the commotion, almost like the tail end rustling of whatever that skirmish was, wrapping up and dying down.
So Aleph will reach down and put his shield over Dragomir, cover his body, then grab his chainmail neck and start pulling him towards the woods. And he'll look at Vale and he says, "You have to get Eisen. I know not where he fell, but I know he's around here."
And I will go look for Eisen.
A shutter slams somewhere nearby. Bootsteps echo, then stop. A door opens just a crack, then closes again. From the surrounding rooftops, the shadows feel heavier now, watchful, measuring. The wind shifts. A faint ripple passes through drifting smoke as if something unseen moves within it. From somewhere close, too close, a calm voice cuts through the stillness. "You have disrupted Zentarum operations, murdered ranking officers, and destroyed valuable assets. You will surrender." Then the village begins to wake around you. A crossbow slowly rises above a rooftop ridge. Another silhouette appears at a window. Dark shapes move through the fog between buildings. Somewhere nearby, bootsteps step softly across wood. The cold wind dies completely. The smoke stills. Even the forest beyond Snowmantle seems to hold its breath.
I'm going to try to position myself on the back side of the building where they can't point their weapons at me.
You are at the northeast corner of Building 1, so you'd have to rush across that open space. And if somebody wanted to, they could light you up like a pincushion when you did that. Now, you're very, very nimble. You might be able to duck and dodge and make it across. And then Aleph, you don't even need to make a wisdom check for this. You would just know that attempting to drag Dragomir across the ground in his current state, he's in such a bad way physically that it could kill him.
Okay, Aleph is going to stop and pick up his shield and try and locate the voice.
Okay, now you can make that hearing check.
13?
That probably passes. And for half elf, it's 15% or less.
Nice.
Yeah. Voice is actually coming from one of the rooftops in the immediate to nearby vicinity. You know that it's not the Temple of Bane or the prison. You can't quite tell if it's the lumber mill, building 1, or the stables, building 2, but your bead on it is coming from that direction. Throw down your arms, and I may spare your friends. Continue to resist me, and they begin to die.
Aleph will look at Vale and just say, "When I throw down my weapons, you run. You must find the animals and rally them to come to our defense." And then Aleph will slowly place his Morning Star and his shield down in front of him. "Run!" And I'll just try and stand in front of her body.
I suppose when Aleph begins to put down his weapons, I'm going to attempt some fancy tumbling moves to hopefully avoid getting shot if they decide to shoot at me, over to corner 6. And depending on how far I can get with tumbling, I'll run the rest of the way. And then depending on if I can actually make it or not, then I'll flee to the east.
Okay. Aleph gently, slowly sets down his Morning Star and shield and stands back up with his arms bent at the elbow, his palms facing out in a sign of non-resistance. As soon as he touches the ground with his items, Vale takes that opportunity to dart as fast and quickly as she can from the northeast corner of the lumber mill, attempting to get across the intersection and skirt her way around the opposite side of the prison while avoiding crossbow bolt fire as she goes. There's going to be 3 crossbow bolts that come your way, Vale. First one, nat 20s. Second one's a 12. Third one's a 10. Give me that tumbling check.
I rolled a 5.
Okay. One of them gets lucky. As you dart across, one of them has a loose and itchy trigger finger, and right at the moment you darted, he kind of accidentally shot you anyway. And so you're nailed in, like, the left flank for 4 damage. Oof, you react and stumble slightly, but then that spikes your adrenaline, which kicks you into a tuck and forward roll, and then like a reverse handspring out of it that takes you almost all the way around the corner of Building 6 before you land on your feet, start running again. Choo-choo, crossbow bolts firing past you, narrowly missing on either side, and you skid around the corner, slam your back up against the wall, panting from a safe position for the moment.
So Singh returns to that original area. He sees the soldiers, he sees them shooting at Vale. He notices his friends on the ground. So he looks off into the opposite direction in the woods, remembering the girl who had run off earlier and remembering from when the animals were at the prison. And he kind of, saw them scampering away. And now he's thinking, oh, well, maybe I can find some help. The woman at the tavern wasn't very helpful. She did give me this potion, but it's just too dangerous. Can't go back to my friends. I have to find help. So Singh starts crawling at the ground level. He's almost ground level anyway. So now he's crawling and he's trudging through. And every now and then he'll stick his head up and he'll make an animal call for help. He just starts cycling through like squirrel, rabbit, deer, anything that he saw at the jailbreak. Every now and then he'll give out the elf word for help or rescue. He sees all the trees around him and he starts speaking in treant here and there, saying rescue and help. And now he's just looking for clues to try and find out where that party went, who was in the jailbreak, and where the girl had went earlier.
All right. How far into the woods does he travel as he's doing all of that?
He's going to continue north into the woods, go north to a point and then circle around and maybe 100 yards east, then south, then west, then back to where he started, either trying to be seen by a friend or ally and then stopping and then looking around. I guess he's about 200 yards in at this point.
Perfect. Let's jump back to Aleph. Good. It would seem at least one of you has a smidgen of sense. Obviously not enough to have carried things this far. Now maybe we can put an end to this and get back to business quickly. As that is said, As the words echo on the air between the buildings, 2 Zentalar soldiers come out with a young woman. They're both flanking her, and she's very clearly been hit. She's a big purple swollen eye, and there is a knife being held to her throat. Disembodied voice from the rooftops again chimes in. Call your friends back if you would, please. I'd hate to have my men start killing villagers.
My friends are here now. You see them.
Please, don't be coy with me. And you hear a finger snap, woman's throat slit, body drops to the ground, heap, dead. Bring them back here. Let's have them drop their weapons and accoutrement as well, please.
You will pay for your crimes this day.
A moment passes, the others aren't coming. Now a old man gets brought out, same situation.
While he's talking, can I be trying to get to Eisen? I don't want to just be standing behind a building, like, listening. I want to try to get Eisen down if I can see him.
Let's switch to you. Your back's slammed up against the side of the building, you're panting heavily, you hear something happening back in the intersection. Let's go to you.
If I'm able, I would like to take out my silk rope and put it on my shoulder, and I'd like to try to scale up the building. I don't know what the sides of the building looks like, but if there's any window ledges or shutters or drain pipes, or if it's rough stone, whatever it's made out of, if there's any way that I can use that to try to scale up the building to where I can get to Eisen.
Sure, give me a climb walls check with your thieving skill, and I'll give you a 5% bonus from the things you were asking about.
A 39. Should pass, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that passes considerably,
Yay.
and all the things that you described are available to you in some form or another. So you grab a handhold here, pull yourself with a nimble leap, halfway or more up the side, seamlessly catch a foothold there, and then flip and roll over up onto the rooftop. You're now up top with Eisen. Now, give me a wisdom check.
16.
You're so focused on Eisen that you don't notice villagers being slaughtered in the intersection behind you.
Do I have sufficient cover for the most part while I'm up there? I'm not, out completely in the open?
Completely out in the open. There's little to no cover at all.
Okay, well, if I can, what I want to do is I want to take my rope and kind of wrap it underneath his arms to where I could use that to lower him down.
Give me just the requisite checks here, so maybe rope use and then a strength check. So 18 or less for rope use.
I got an 11.
Okay. Let's do an open doors, and because of everything you just did, I'm going to give you a +3 to that. So you need a 12 or less.
I rolled a 17.
Okay.
Ooh.
Just
Sorry, Eisen, you fall to the ground.
give me a 1d2 roll. Let's do a 1d12, and even is 2 and odd is 1.
I rolled a 6. It's even, so.
Yeah, so you're able to get Eisen down safely to the ground, but not without some banging around and almost dropping him at the end, due to just the awkwardness of the whole makeshift pulley scenario and what leverage you do and don't have. Eisen takes 2 damage in the process.
No! Sorry, Eisen. I'd like to try to render medical aid. Not that I'm proficient in it, but anything I can do. Makeshift bandages.
You're up on the roof and he's on the ground.
Oh, I want to climb off the roof, jump down.
Okay. Give me a climbing check at +10%, or you can do tumbling, your preference.
I rolled a 24.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to tuck and roll your way off the building, kind of bank off the side in a little bit of a parkour move, and then kneel next to Eisen. How do you react to accidentally banging him up?
I'm just gonna try to give him some water, look at his wounds, see if there's anything I can possibly tend to.
You're immediately surrounded. couple of crossbows trained on you from like 10 feet away in different directions, and then a couple of long swords pointed at your throat as you're knelt down tending to Eisen. The voice appears again. Good, cleric. Yes, there is some sense to you after all. That's 4 of you. Was there not another? A halfling or a gnome?
Aleph just stares and doesn't say anything.
Elf, perhaps you would like to save this villager's life by answering my question.
Throw my arms up in the air again. I don't have anything on me or in my hands, so.
Okay. The troops would just grab your bow and your longsword and your dagger. They would just basically remove everything from you and take it.
He just bends down to check on Dragomir, feels his pulse, checks his bandages. When he's satisfied, he stands back up and looks around him, assessing everything all the time, just watching everyone, every little thing they do, what kind of weapons they have, who they're looking at, who they're paying attention to, who they're taking orders from.
Vale, you are shoved forward to your knees. Your hands are bound behind your back way too tightly. Rough hemp rope digging into your pale, fair skin of your wrists and forearms as you see 2 or 3 Zentalar soldiers rush into the intersection from the sides of buildings to blast Aleph over the head with the butt end of one of their sword hilts to knock him unconscious. So they'll have to make an attack roll. Natural 19, plus he doesn't have his shield, plus he's on his knees, plus they're coming up from behind. That's gonna hit. Bam! Aleph knocked out cold. When everybody comes to, Vale, you're conscious for all of this, but you're gagged too. They throw like something, tie something around the back of your head so you can't yell out or speak. Vale, you can see them lead you all into the barracks. But Sing not being here, there's 4 of you left. So the buildings marked 12 are the Zentalar barracks, and each of you is taken to a different one of those buildings alone. Vale, you see this all going down. You're brought into the first one, and you don't see what happens to the other 3, because they bring you in and then keep walking. Aleph, Eisen, and Dragomir, each of you comes to. Eisen and Dragomir, you're both now at 1 hit point. Eisen, you are bound extremely tightly with leather cord, and you're also gagged. They may or may not have figured out that you're a wizard, and you realize your belongings have been ruffled through. You don't have any of your weapons, armor, spellbook, none of that. Provisions, backpack. Each of you, when you come to, has the clothes on your back, and that's it. Vale, you know exactly where you are, and then the other 3 of you, it takes you a moment of like blinking and rubbing your heads and looking around to catch the fact that, okay, I'm a prisoner inside a military barracks in this village. And then it dawns on you where that was in relation to the fight that you just had.
Aleph is going to spend his time praying.
And Vale, you can give me a wisdom check to be able to see where they took your stuff.
I failed.
Okay. You're just consumed with rage and anger, unable to pay that level of attention. Plus, they kind of kept it out of your eye line on purpose.
Dragomir will just groan softly and kind of like roll slightly every so often, and maybe every minute or 2 just like cough up some blood.
Dragomir is like shackled and bound to the 9s. He's doubly shackled. He's got like multiple reinforced steel cuffs and chains connecting everything. And then the hand shackles are now connected to the leg shackles. And when he comes to and starts moving, there's this moment of, even though like they've got him and he's their prisoner and he's on death's door, they're still afraid of him. And he catches that flicker. He just sees like muscles tense, hands move instinctively toward weapons, and then they relax and look around and like start laughing like, we were in control all along. We're not afraid of this dwarf.
Yeah, he might try and pass a grin every so often if he can, if he has the strength to.
Forever a badass.
So the moment he starts to come to, he can feel the restraints and he starts hyperventilating and trying to scream, and he is just yanking as hard as he can on those restraints. And then he starts to slowly compose himself as he's looking around the room, realizing he's not in a situation he's been in before in this sense. And he starts to relax, slowing his breathing and looking around to take in the environment.
Let's have you guys roll 1d12s, and whoever gets the highest is the one who's going to be interrogated first.
2.
I rolled a 1.
6.
I rolled an 8.
Okay, perfect. When you're fully restrained and chained to a soldier's bed in an awkward and uncomfortable, submissive position, hands and feet, you hear slow, measured, calculated, calm footsteps clacking on flagstone floor. And then Ragnoth bamfs into existence. There's like an inky appearance as he deliberately lets down his cloak of invisibility. You have killed Zentarum officers and disrupted Imperial operations. Why?
She remains silent.
Yes. Oh, Glorgana would have had quite the fun time with you all. She's was much more apt to break this type of resistance, which is why it displeases me greatly that, thanks to you and your friends, she's no longer here to perform those rudimentary chores on my behalf. See, I now have to stoop to that level and do it myself, and that's not something I care for. Now, before I ask you again, please be aware that I will get the answers out of you. Your choice here is how painful that becomes for you. How many villagers are tortured and killed in front of their loved ones in the process. Now, who sent you? Who aids you? What do you know of my operation?
Vale's just gonna throw her head back and do a long, drawn-out yawn. And look away.
Give me a wisdom check at -2, Vale.
A 3, but plus the 2, so a 5.
It dawns on you, even though you're acting super nonchalant and relaxed, your adrenaline is still up from the entire experience, the battle that you just had, if nothing else. And it's making your mind very sharp, very focused and intentional, as it's been trained to be in these hostile scenarios. And that lets you realize that if Ragnoth wanted you dead, each of you would already be dead. It also crosses your mind that he's interrogating you separately. And then he's asking who sent you, and specifically who aids you. One more wisdom check, this one with no penalty.
A 10.
Vale is aware in this moment that although she is completely helpless physically, she may not be completely helpless situationally. It's clear that Ragnoth is extremely interested in why you're all here and whether or not you have affiliation with who knows who. All right. Well, I offered to do this the easy way. I simply want to know who sent you, why you're here. Fair question. You've invaded my territory, killed my associates. I would think that that's the least you could give me in return. Nevertheless, he nods and backs out of the way. You can't see where he is anymore, but when you refuse to answer, 2 Zentalar soldiers, they had escorted you in here and chained you up. They move without hesitation in response to his nod. There's no anger in them, only discipline. This is procedure. One steps behind you, forcing your arms back and tugging painfully at the coarse rope that binds your wrists, tightening until the fibers bite. Your skin breaks. Blood trickles from your wrists down the pale, unblemished elven skin of your underside of your forearms. The other holds your bow, running the blade of his sword up and down the string, and with deliberate care, as if he appreciates the construction, and then casually sets it aside like confiscated property. They don't rush. They want you to understand this is just the beginning. Now they unchain you, force you to your knees. The cold, hard stone of the floor seeping into your knees and shins, even through your leathers. The smell of sap, blood, and smoke filling your senses. One of the soldiers grips your hair, pulling your head back, so you have to stare at the empty space where Ragnoth's voice hangs. The other soldier says gruffly, "You will answer the master." A mailed fist, immediately as those words complete, slams into your ribs, cracking 2 of them. You take 5 hit points of damage. It's measured, controlled, a test of your ability to resist. Then they wait, still silence. You cough, sputter uncontrollably in reaction to the blow. The second soldier produces a short iron rod from his belt. It's not a blade, but a tool. He presses the chill metal against the side of your throat, just enough pressure to restrict your heaving breath. Not enough to kill, only to remind. Your vision blurs slightly as air thins. The soldier releases the pressure just before you would black out. They're very clearly practiced at this. Speak.
So I'll spit out some blood on the floor, and I'll say, "I'd tell you, but it would ruin the mystery." And just give a little smirk.
Your defiance remains, causing them to change tactics. They haul you upright and drag you outside to a timber post used for binding slaves. Your arms are pulled back around it and secured high, forcing your shoulders into painful strain. Every movement sends fire through muscle and joint. The strain is constant and exhausting, a punishment that does not end. One soldier speaks toward the empty air. "Subject resists, master." Ragnoth's unseen voice replies calmly. "Continue." A controlled blow to the back of the knee forces your weight to hang against the bindings. Another strike, never wild, never frenzied, lands across your side, where even your armor would have given little protection. Pain delivered like accounting entries, precise, recorded, efficient. Between each, they pause, waiting for words. The surrounding Zentalar watch without emotion. Ragnoth finally speaks again from somewhere around you, voice soft with chilling patience. "You will answer eventually. All things do."
Do you always try this hard? Or am I special?
"Very well then. Leave her for the crows. We'll get the information we need. Perhaps we can be more effective with her next companion." And he says that very deliberately to let you know, Vale, that they're going to go start torturing, like, the next person in the group. And then they just walk away, and you're just bound there. You're, like, awkwardly semi-crucified on this whipping post. Okay, let's do 1d12s again and see who's next.
10.
2.
6.
6, okay, cool. So Eisen would be next, but let's switch back to Sing. Sing deeper and deeper into the woods, and can I get a direction sense check? Since you don't have the proficiency, it's at -6.
Sing rolled an 11.
So you keep going until it dawns on you that you're lost. After maybe, like, I don't know if it's been 15 minutes, if it's been a half hour, but you turn around and you're like, wait a minute, I don't even know if I would know the way back right now if I tried. And that's when you hear a twig break somewhere in the underbrush nearby, belying the presence of some small forest creature, an animal, 4-legged most likely. What do you do?
Sing turns around and says, "Hello? Who's there?" He gets down lower and he kind of crawls and peeks and sticks his hand up to his ear and starts to listen. He'll speak an elf word again, and because he just doesn't know. So he's going to go through his languages that he does know a second time and say in elf first, help. Then he's going to, do Treant and say help. and start cycling through some of the animals. So he's going to pick squirrel, and he goes, help. You know, he's making squirrel clicking sounds, and then he stops, and he just sits and stares to where he heard the noise and just looks in that direction.
And what Sing actually said out loud was, hello, who's there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me get a wisdom check. I'll give you a +1.
A 1.
Natural 1, perfect. So your eyes train on a thicket just outside of the reach of where you might be able to throw a projectile and harm a very large badger that's poking its head out of a hole in the ground. And you hear back to you in the badger language, a friend.
So Sing sees this, and he starts crawling in that direction towards the badger, and he repeats friend in badger language, and he's continuing to go, but as he's going, oh, badger, and he's picking up speed to the point of where he's going too fast, and he can't slow down because he's just so excited. In Sing's mind, this badger is now his woodland buddy, and he's rushing towards it to like give it a little gnome hug. Wait for me. Don't run. And he's continuing towards the badger.
Sing, can I get a charisma check at +1?
Yes, you may. It's the Sing curse. He doesn't pass charisma checks. He's got an 18.
18, okay. The badger doesn't fully expose itself. It stays with its body in the hole so that you can tell that any moment that it wants to, it can just completely dart back in there and disappear. But you are able to get closer, and it doesn't dart back in and disappear just yet. From this point on, Sing and the badger are communicating in the badger language unless otherwise noted, and because of that, it's 1 to 3 word phrases here and there, rather than the full sentences that I'm going to speak just for narrative continuity. The next thing you hear Sing is, "You're a friend of the forest?"
Yes.
"How do I know?"
Well, I'm a gnome. Of course I'm a friend of the forest. Not only that, I am a forest gnome. Have you ever heard a forest gnome not being a friend of the forest before?
Badger pauses. You can see its head cocked to the side. There's an indication of greater intelligence than normal, higher than animal intelligence, certainly. And the mannerisms are a little more deliberate. Steps a little bit further forward, still ready to dart away at any time. "Why here now?"
It's the village. And Sing starts to like choke up a little bit. My friends, they've been captured. We've hurt many of them. I don't know if you know the village I speak of, but it's the logging. They've cut down many trees. There was many animals that came into the village, and they went into one of the buildings. There was a large fight. They ran off. I'm just looking to help my friends. Do you know of the place I speak of?
You hear in the common tongue, not badger language. "Yes, Snowmantle."
That's right, and you've changed. Are you a badger? Is this a trick?
Still in broken common. "Not trick. Some common speak."
Oh, a very smart badger then. I too am a smart gnome. We should probably get along well. Yes, it is Snowmantle. We were there to meet a man named Snowmantle, I think. And then an evil woman named Gorgana had stopped us, but she is no longer alive. Neither are her clerics. But still an evil wizard rules over that place. I've tried to recruit help from other people there. And he reaches into his pouch. She gave me this potion, look. She said it could help my friend, but he's gone too. Do you know of anyone who may be able to assist us?
"What man, Snowmantle?"
Well, his name was Snowmantle, the one we were going to meet. And then another, more powerful wizard that, I think her name was Juliana. I spoke of him to her and tried to get her to help, and she wouldn't. She dared not. She said his name was Ragnoth. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I do know that Gorgana's dead, though.
Ragnoth. Evil. Badger shakes its head left and right.
He was terrible. He's the one that's been hurting my friends and casting spells and doing terrible things. I don't even know if they're alive.
Why find Snowmantle Man?
I'm not sure. One of our companions, a dwarf, his name is Dragomir. He's not all bad, he's just very hot-headed. He was the one who brought us there. He said that his job was to deliver us to this place, and he was going to collect a reward of some such. And then everything went wrong.
What reward?
I'm not sure what reward he was given, but he never collected it. We did not find the Snowmantle Man.
Badger actually reaches up and scratches its temple behind the ear with his front right paw at this point. You and friends help village or help Ragnoth?
Oh, we were there to help the village. Well, at first we were there to follow Dragomir, and he was going to collect his reward, but then we saw the atrocities that had taken place. We have an elf with us, and another elf, and something that I'm not too sure of what he is, but he looks like an elf. Dragomir is not, he is the dwarf, and they were very upset as well. The battles had ensued, and, our plan was to hopefully free these people, meet Mr. Snowmantle, and I don't know what else. I tried to destroy some of the things they had taken from the forest as a distraction, but it only worked for a little while. Are you aware that they've been stealing and cutting down the trees?
He nods, vigorously, okay, now you're onto the topic. Yes, very sad. Much harm done. Then his eyes sort of squint, and he pauses. How Badger speak?
Being a forest gnome, I have some language capabilities of all forest mammals. You might say I'm a bit of an animal of the forest myself.
Elves say gnomes good. You gnome good?
Oh yes, very good.
Give me another charisma check when you're ready, Sing.
Is that? It's a 15. Nope.
You follow, help Snowmantle.
Well, my intention right now is to help my friends. But to help Snowmantle, to free these poor people and stop the things they're doing, that's the right thing to do. But my mind is set on my friends not being murdered by this evil wizard.
She comes completely out of the hole, but staying just at the edge of it, and stands all the way up on hind legs. At this point, you realize whoever this badger is, he's actually a giant badger, and points his front right paw at his chest and says, Lawrence.
Is that your name? Your name's Lawrence?
Lawrence, he repeats while nodding at you.
So Sing sees that, and Sing stands to his full height, and he puffs out his chest as big as he can, trying to channel his inner Dragomir, and he points at his chest, and he says, Sing.
Sing.
Yes, that's my name.
Lawrence Hope Sing Good. Not sure yet. Sing follow behind. Lawrence points as if trying to indicate, you stay at a safe distance, I'm going to lead us. Lawrence take Sing to Lost.
Oh, most certainly, Lawrence. I'm not quite sure where we're going, but I would trust an animal of the forest, especially as one as spectacular as yourself, to lead me on the right path. I will follow, sir.
We go to Lost.
Lost. Yes, I am lost. Thank you for helping me.
At that point, he stays ahead of you and he pokes his head back every once in a while to make sure that you're keeping a safe distance. But he just keeps leading you deeper and deeper into the forest. You have no idea where you are at this point, and it's been an hour.
Sing's just happily chirping along. He reaches into his pocket and he eats some of his nuts. He calls ahead to Lawrence and he says, Lawrence, this lost place you speak of, more friends?
As you ask that, from out of nowhere, Sing, a green feathered arrow embeds itself in the ground at your feet. The forest abruptly comes alive with elves dressed in the colors of nature who step out from their cover and aim their many bows at you. Their sudden appearance and the sheer number of them stuns you for a moment. The silence becomes almost palpable, as none of them moves or speaks after appearing. Finally, one of the elves steps forth and proclaims, "We are called the Lost, to whom you have been calling most rudely. What is your business here?" Lawrence doesn't stand up, but pokes his head way up and, speaking Badger and moving his front paws, says what you can immediately recognize as a greeting of peace, then switches to Common. "Snowmantle need help. Sing need help."
Yeah, Sing is stunned. He sees all the elves because he's generally not around so many woodland creatures anyway because they've been traveling so long. And he looks at these elves and he goes, "No, yes, like Lawrence says, I'm a friend of the forest. My friends are either dead or fighting for their lives. We've been to Snowmantle and killed Gorgana, some of her clerics. We've been in a fight there, and I need to find help for my friends. I'm sorry if this seems rude. I don't know any of you. I mean no harm. I am hopefully here to help you as well."
While you're explaining yourself to this lost tribe of Sylvan elves, an elderly elf emerges from the trees in the middle of your monologue, begins speaking with Lawrence in some strange language that you don't understand, but being a forest gnome and specifically being where you're from, recognize it as it's not quite the druid language, but it has some resemblances. There's heavy overlap with the secret language of druids. Lawrence is talking back, and you can understand him because he's speaking in like a combination of Badger and Common, and only once in a while slips into like a word or very brief phrase from whatever that language might be. So you can make out that Lawrence is confirming that you're here because Lanceril cannot leave Snowmantle for fear of innocent deaths. Give me an intelligence check.
All right, let's see. 17. Missed it by 1.
You're not exactly sure what to make of all of that, but if Lanceril can't leave Snowmantle for fear of innocent deaths, now that you've seen what you've seen, it's possible that him staying in the village is somehow protecting some of the other innocent people there. After wrapping up speaking with Lawrence around the same time that you wrap up your spiel, the elderly elf turns to you. "It is unfortunate that the half-breed could not seek us in person," says the aged elf, "as this may have been his last chance to ask the questions I know he has. Besides, we had something for him. It was not our intention to show ourselves to anyone other than our own kind, though he is not a true green elf. However, the situation in the village called Snowmantle demands immediate attention. We judge that you must destroy the Zents or drive them from the border forest." He waves his arms to indicate that he's talking about the wood that surrounds you now. "We will not leave the depths of the forest ourselves, yet we cannot allow the destruction of our home to continue. I am of a mind to take a great chance and entrust an ancient secret to you, which will drive out the Zents. But before I do so, I would hear one reason why I should give it to you."
It's to save this forest from further destruction, to free these people who've been enslaved, and to make sure my friends make it out alive.
Give me a charisma check at +2.
A 14.
That passes on the nose for you.
Yes.
He nods his head slightly without smiling, but it's like an accepting nod. And he says, "Long ago, we chose the border forest as a home instead of wondrous Evermeet, and we brought with us many ancient secrets. I have a scroll containing an archaic and potent spell developed by the elves of the forest to protect their homes. This scroll I give to you. Read it in the heart of Snowmantle, loud and clear. Then, I charge, you must run for your lives, else you may be destroyed. Go now, for each moment the Zents remain in our forest, they inflict yet more harm. Then, as quickly as they appeared, the lost dissolve into the depths of the forest.
Sing looks at Lawrence, and he's holding the scroll, and says, "Oh my, I've never been given such a responsibility before. I know what to do. Lawrence, I will give you all the seeds and nuts in my pocket, and this trail bread if you show me the way back to Snowmantle."
He nods vigorously, and now that the lost have entrusted you, let alone not killed you for being an outsider, Lawrence seems cool with you. So he takes you up on that and says to you in Badger, "Lawrence likes snacks."
Sing looks at him and he says, "I'll do you one better." He pulls out the trail bread and he takes his dagger and splits it down the middle and stuffs it full of all the nuts and seeds. And then he squeezes it together and he looks at Lawrence and he hands it over and says, "Sandwich."
He pulls his hands in toward his snout, looks down, sniffs at it, then just starts devouring it a moment later. The crumbs are flying everywhere. When he's done, he just drops down to all fours, turns back to you. "Good snack." And then just bolts, presumably to the south, back towards Snowmantle. Do you follow?
Sing follows. He's running at his full speed to keep up.
Eisen, you're taken to a timber-walled office within the barracks. The room smells of ink, treated wood, and lamp oil. Ledgers line the walls. Maps of the border forest and logging routes are pinned with meticulous care. A single table, 2 chairs, 1 lantern, no chains, no visible instruments of pain. Everything here suggests administration as opposed to brutality. That apparently is deliberate. You are seated. Your wounds are bound competently, efficiently, treated with salves, herbs, enough to preserve life, nothing more. A Zentalar guard stands behind you, silent. Across the table, empty air shifts. Then Ragnoth appears in the room. No flash, no drama, just a quiet arrival. Black robes, pale hands folded, calm eyes studying you like a ledger entry. He doesn't speak immediately. He observes. A faint interest touches his expression. Not hatred, not fear, but evaluation. An expression that you're coming to know increasingly well with your time on the surface. "Half-drow," he says quietly. He circles you slowly, hands clasped behind his back. "Surface dweller, not underdark discipline, not noble posture. A survivor, then." He stops. "You killed at least 3 of my soldiers." He pauses. "Efficiently." Ragnoth then sits opposite you. He opens a ledger and dips a quill into ink. Names, purpose, sponsorship.
Just stares back coldly, still gagged as far as I know.
"Oh, yes. How rude of me." He nods. The Zentalar soldier behind you quickly rips the gag down out of your mouth.
I spit and flick my tongue like I'm trying to get the fibers from the rag off of it. Then I continue staring back at him. "What is it you seek?"
I thought I was quite clear. Who sent you? What are you doing in my village?
I can't tell you who sent me. I don't remember their name. But I'm in your village to kill. I needed to test my skills, and your soldiers seemed a talented target. They were not.
He smirks as if you had made any kind of joke that he doesn't totally appreciate. Makes a small mark, writing something down in the ledger. "You misunderstand your position here. This is not a battlefield. It is a negotiation in which you possess nothing of value except information. He gestures casually toward a window on your right. Outside, faintly visible in torchlight, Vale bound to the post, sagging her own weight, torturing her upper body, struggling to hold herself up. Ragnoth watches as you notice. Defiance has consequences.
Eisen looks out the window and then looks back and just sits there. She made her choices, just like I did.
Very well. Ragnoth changes tactics. He begins speaking about the Drow, about betrayal, about exile, about houses destroyed and loyalties severed. He watches you closely for any reaction. You are accustomed to survival through deception. You understand hierarchy, power, necessary cruelty. And a thin smile creases his lips. You and I are not so different. Perhaps we might align. We have a shared worldview, an understanding. We know how to... Well, you might say we're spiders who understand how to trap a fly. And then he just makes piercing direct eye contact with you.
Continue. What are you offering?
He pauses. He didn't expect that. And that dials him back from what the natural next chess move he was planning to make. He references events to you that you haven't mentioned, and unless he was able to scry on the party or even you personally from your past, he shouldn't have known those. He half finishes statements waiting to be corrected. He infuses deliberate pauses. He listens, hesitates, hesitates.
We've got the whole torture chamber scenarios with the racks and the cutting utensils and sacrificial knives, altars, blood, all that fun stuff is just kind of flickering in and out of Eisen's memory, just very briefly, very quickly, nothing staying long enough to have a true lasting effect, but it is there.
He's very matter of fact and just very clearly wants answers the most efficiently he can get them. Next thing he says to you is, disobedience wastes resources and my time, and I have precious little of either left, especially after this show outside, he says with a sneer. Now, I can either extract the information from you through pain to yourself. Clearly, pain to your companions is not a motivator for you, and so I suspect killing a villager in front of you right now might not do the job either. My other resort is to simply read your mind, probe your thoughts with my own, and take what I like. Or I can spare you the trouble of navigating the rest of the process, and you can simply tell me what you're really doing here, why your companions are here, and what affiliation you have with those blasted Harpers.
I already told you why I'm here. I didn't lie. My companions, something about saving the forest. I didn't pay much attention. It didn't interest me. And who are the Harpers? Or what are the Harpers?
He studies you over. You haven't been on the surface very long. You were truly here to use your companion's mission as a training ground for your martial skills. Nothing more.
I just give like a little half grin and leave it at that.
His eyes narrow. Good. You will oversee the others after I make them slaves in the village. I have nothing more for this one. Take him away. You just feel something blunt slam into the back of your head, knocking you unconscious. You guys want a 1d12 between Aleph and Dragomir, see who's next?
11.
7.
Sinksy, you've got the scroll and you're following Lawrence, the giant badger, through the forest, and you're both just like, run. And because you're going double time, it'll take you significantly less time to make it all the way back. But give me a running check. It'll just be at -6.
He rolled a 12. It passed.
Okay. Even with the -6?
Oh. No, that wouldn't have passed then. 12 plus 6 is 18. So no, his con is 16.
Your travel time is going to be cut in half, so it just takes you and Lawrence a half hour. He pauses on occasion to let you take a breath if you need one, but you're mostly able to make it all the way there without slowing or stopping. After about a half hour, maybe a little more, you reach the north edge of the village of Snowmantle with Lawrence and with the scroll, where forest becomes village. What do you want to do?
Sing turns to Lawrence and says, well, if this scroll is as powerful as that elder elf said it was, you might want to leave, Lawrence, but I've enjoyed your company.
Wait. First, free Lancerel, then scroll.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I will.
And then he points toward Building 6. In prison.
That's who was in there. Were your people trying to free him?
He nods vigorously. Yes, many times.
Well, their guards may be weakened. I should be able to. Thank you, Lawrence.
Gnome sneak?
Oh, yes. I am very good at sneaking.
Free Lancerel, then scroll. Thank you. He says thank you in Badger.
Sing bows and he says, no, thank you. Without your help and trust, this would have been for nothing.
Awesome, and then he darts into some kind of hidey hole near the edge of the forest and waits.
Yes, Sing is going to rest in that case. So Sing's sitting down, twiddling his thumbs, going, diddly-woo, what do I do? And he's just thinking, and he's got his hands on his chin. He's like, what should I do? I don't want to be seen. Well, I could cast my spell. He said that Lancerel was in the prison. I guess I'll free him. I know. I'll free Lancerel, then I'll get him to help and free my friends. We'll all leave. Okay. So he's pumping himself up to get ready to do this. And I suppose he's just going to cast Wraith Form and go for it.
What happens when he casts Wraith Form?
Alright, so he's got his gauze, he has his wisp of smoke, and he makes his hands into what he would consider a little cloud, and he's moving them around. He casts Wraith Form, and there's no verbal part, so he just poof. He turns into a puff of smoke, and he starts to read, kind of where the winds are going and following where he could find the most cover. So he's moving about from the woods to 9 to 6, within the shadows and within the currents, best he can to nature around him until he gets to 6.
He poofs into a nebulous, thin, wispy field of ethereal, smoke-like substance, and then just drifts silently on the wind across this somewhat open field around villagers' dwellings and bobbing up and down slightly on the breeze before getting to the north side of the prison. And at ground level, there are windows that are almost at the ceiling of the subterranean first floor, and those windows are barred with iron bars, but you can see in and out. You make it there no issue.
Okay, so Sing looks up to where the bars are and assumes that those are bars that may come out from the cells or what have you, finds a crack to, sneak through, and he makes his way to the inside of the prison.
Can you give me a 1d3 roll, Sing? I just want to see which cell you happened to enter.
Rolled a 6, so I'm assuming that's a 3.
Okay. The prison itself is simply laid out, containing 10 cells. You float down in through the window. This man, you're not sure what race, is seated on a hard, cold stone bench, hands folded, looking down and forlorn as you slither and slide through the iron bars, drifting in on the air from the outside. There are no guards in sight.
Sing whispers from his vantage point, psst, 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 psst. And then he taps the bars, trying to get the man's attention.
If you pass an intelligence check, then you can do your...
All right, let's see. 14, so that one did pass.
The man perks up and looks around slightly, makes sure the guards don't see him, and then cranes his neck and looks up at the barred window. Not seeing anything, stands up, stretches, cracks his neck. Your wispy wraith form is inside the cell with him, but he's not noticing you. Instead, he goes over and looks up at the window as if he's expecting to see someone there or something trying to communicate with him. When he doesn't see it, he pauses for a moment, and turns around and stands with his back to the window as if he's waiting. Just stares out through the bars of the cell in the opposite direction. Doesn't seem to notice you so far.
He climbs down and places himself on the cot, I guess, who's next to this guy.
Now that you're like quote unquote sitting there on the bench next to him, you look like the outline of Sing with some Sing-like details, almost like a ghost. And he rubs his temples and rubs his closed eyes and opens them, stretches, and in the process turns and sees you there and almost falls off the bench, slamming himself into the wall and instinctively jolting his body away from you. He looks back out at the guards, looks back at you. What are you? Why are you here?
Sing just whispers, I'm trying to find Lancrel's snowmantle.
And you can't tell exactly what it is he's able to perceive, obviously, but it is obvious to you that he's not picking up the entirety of the phrases you're saying as if the two of you were just having a normal conversation, both in substantiated physical form. So he looks confused and still afraid, keeps a keen eye on the door. I am he.
The Lost have sent me. I'm here to free you.
I can't be freed. They kill another villager every hour I'm missing.
Aha, but I was given a gift. We're going to free the village and run away from here.
How?
I haven't figured that out yet. I was hoping you could, once free, help me locate my friends and we'd get out of here.
No spirit, unfortunately. And a guard passes by, and he just stops talking and mumbles to himself. So hungry. When is High Sun Feast? Guard just mumbles back and slams some kind of club into the cell bars. Shut up, you. We'll get fed when we feel like it. The guard passes by. I can't leave. You met the Lost? What tool did they give you?
They gave me a great scroll. I'm to read it in the middle of the village, and then they said the scroll would take effect and that everyone should run.
He raises an eyebrow. Do you have this with you now?
Yes, but you can't see it, obviously. I'm still a bit of a ghost.
Show me this scroll, ghost.
So Sing reaches into his invisible pocket, pulls out the scroll, and he drops the scroll, and he goes, okay.
As soon as the scroll leaves Sing's hand, it becomes visible, and Lancrel really quickly snatches it off the bench next to him, tucks it up into his sleeve, looks around carefully for the guards. When they don't appear, he does the face palming motion and then has the scroll on his inner forearm facing himself, and then he uses the other hand to unroll it. His eyes go wide while he's looking at it, and he lets it roll back up and tucks it back into his sleeve. You have met Tanserel, my grandfather.
Oh, are you an elf too?
Half. This scroll, it can only be read by a priest. You are one, no?
No, but I know of a priest. I'm sure he's close by.
He slams the scroll in your direction. You'll have to become corporeal again for me to give this to you. You must get this to your priest. Have him recite it in the center of the... Guard passes by. He shuts up, tucks away the scroll, waits. Guard walks away. Reading this will destroy the village.
Well, that makes sense then, if we're to run.
Get it to your priest. You must complete this task as soon as possible. Don't worry about me. He will know what to do when he reads it.
I tell you what, I'll slip outside the window and you slide it out.
He looks around. Very well. Quickly now.
So Singh climbs back up, slips out the window, drops down to the ground outside, and waits for the scroll.
The scroll just shoots up out of the window like it was like flicked from lower down and lands gently on the grass in front of you. At that point, poof, Singh's corporeal form returns. You're standing firmly, physically planted on the ground.
Are there any shadows, trees, places for Singh to collect himself?
It's mid-afternoon. It's pretty wide open right here. They keep the area around the prison deliberately sparse for those very reasons. So that it's much more difficult for people to sneak up and try to break people out. So we can call it there, and we'll give you a week to gather your thoughts, decide what to do next. And then if we start out next session with an interrogation, it'll be Aleph followed by, if there's another one, Dragomir.